Hello, and thank you for attending today's STEM in 30 webinar on the art of facilitating a making and tinkering activity. This webinar will be recorded and archived on the OC STEM website. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them in the chat box and we will do our best to address them during the webinar, and we will also address questions at the end. Today's presenters are myself, Elizabeth Mercado, and my colleague Rachel Andres.
Hello.
And if you were unable to attend the first webinar and missed our introductions, Rachel and I are AmeriCorps Vista members for the Maker Education Initiative. Our mission is to create more opportunities for youth to develop confidence, creativity, and an interest in learning, especially within the STEM subjects. We believe that this will be made possible by offering making and tinkering opportunities in education, which is the inspiration behind this two-part webinar.
So we wanted to offer some information about this unique approach to education. Whether you're a teacher, an after-school provider, a parent, or anybody who's interested in STEM, really, we just wanted to provide you with some tips and strategies as well as some resources regarding making and tinkering. And making and tinkering can happen in both formal and informal learning environments.
So today, during part 2, we will discuss 4 key strategies to facilitating a making and tinkering activity. These strategies include 1. Experience first, teach second. 2. Teach persistence over precision. 3. Learn alongside students. And 4. Allow them to go in any direction they like. We have also selected a few resources that we feel are valuable, and we'll share them with you at the end of the segment.
Before we get started, let's recap briefly about what we covered in part 1, which was on the fundamentals of making and tinkering. So during the first webinar, we provided strategies on how to set the stage for implementation. These included strategies for creating an environment that's conducive to making and tinkering, and also by choosing the proper materials and supplies. But more importantly, we went into detail about the value of making and tinkering and the benefits of incorporating these strategies into the classroom. So making and tinkering is an inquiry-based approach to learning, and this offers students a chance to engage in hands-on and open-ended activities that will essentially allow them to learn through exploration and discovery. It gets them interested in what they're learning and invested in the outcomes. And when students are interested and invested in what's going on, the result is naturally increased engagement. So through the process of exploration and discovery, students develop important life skills like confidence, creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking.
So let's just jump right into today's topic, which is the art of facilitation. And our first strategy is experience first, teach second. This is an important strategy because it hones in on our natural abilities to learn from personal experience, which is a key concept in making and tinkering. So by allowing yourself time to try, fail, collaborate, and try again, you are bound to come up with several questions that your students will likely have when you introduce an activity to them. It will also remind you and your students that mistakes are bound to happen, and that in actuality, making mistakes will help guide us to a solution. So rarely are we good at doing certain things the first time we try. Practice makes perfect, so the more we try, the better we will get. First-hand experience is important for students and educators to make personal connections to what they're learning. And if it's important for them, then we believe it has to be equally important to the educators. So take action. Don't be afraid of trying new things with your students. This step is giving you permission to explore and figure things out. Again, we believe that this is how we innately learn. By providing a hands-on experience, you'll be allowing your students to become engaged with the activity and will be allowing them to find what they are really attracted to. This process can almost be seen as personalized learning. This is going to help students really become interested in something which they can then develop the appropriate skills for. And thinking long term, in the long run, when students turn into working members of society, they will be able to solve real-world problems with the confidence and creativity that they will need to do so. Personally, things are easier for me when I get my feet wet versus listening and not using what I'm learning. So it puts everything into perspective for the student.
Definitely. So moving forward to facilitation strategy number 2 is to teach persistence over precision. Persistence is an important life skill because without it, we cannot be effective in our endeavors. Whether a student wants to graduate high school, land a good job, or change the world, persistence is key. We have all personally experienced the frustration that can come from failing a bunch of times and not having enough instruction or not having the know-how. But it's through these failed attempts that we have the opportunity to recognize why it's not working and then begin to come up with the ways to get it working properly. This can only happen when we are diligent in our efforts and never give up, no matter how frustrating it might be. Persistence trumps precision because there isn't always one right answer to a problem. In my experience, sometimes there are multiple answers for a single problem and multiple ways to go about finding those answers. It's important for educators to model to their students that it's not so much about the final outcome of an activity, whether they fail or succeed. It's really more about the process they go through to get to the end, and then, of course, the things that they learned along the way. So making and tinkering embrace failure as a vital step towards success. And this is a great way to build confidence among students, allowing them to become aware that the best way to succeed is to look carefully at what happened when it went wrong. This takes persistence, something that comes naturally when one is truly invested in their work. In our world today, it's all about instant gratification. And I feel like it's really important to remind kids that success and satisfaction takes hard work. But when persistence becomes more of a chore for the student than a skill, it's also important to remember not to just give them the answer, but to encourage them to keep at it.
So one of the easiest and most effective ways to keep students invested in their work without having them give up is to ask questions, and lots of questions. So guiding questions or prompts will provoke their thoughts and encourage critical thinking. These types of questions could sound like, I noticed you tried putting this together with glue and that it did not stay stuck. Have you tried using any other types of adhesives? Or I wonder what would happen if you used tape instead of glue. So being genuinely invested and curious in your students' learning is going to keep them motivated. And aside from prompts, you could also use simple questions to help clarify a dilemma or issue for the students. This can help them think about the problem from a different perspective than their own. So a good clarifying question might sound like, you said you had an idea to build a structure that would hold your own body weight. How did you get the idea to use popsicle sticks? What resources did you use to come up with your design? Or what's another type of material you can think of to try instead of the popsicle sticks? So again, being interested and invested is going to motivate your students and ultimately provide them with different perspectives and train them on not what to think, but how to think.
So we had clarifying questions and prompts, and another type of question that can be useful is probing questions. So it's just another way to get students thinking more deeply about their problem. So a good probing question might sound like, why do you think popsicle sticks aren't working? What is the connection between your body weight and the strength of the popsicle sticks? Could the popsicle sticks bear the weight of something smaller? Or what if you use something thicker than a popsicle stick? Then what might happen? This just gets them thinking about what they're physically doing, and if they're getting frustrated that it's not working, it pushes them further. It gets them thinking about, oh, like maybe if I was trying to get the popsicle sticks to hold something less than my body weight, maybe that would work. Maybe it's not my design. Maybe it's the actual thing. Maybe popsicle sticks were not the best choice of material. It just gets them thinking a little bit deeper.
So moving on to strategy number 3, learn alongside your students. And that means being comfortable with not always being in control. I know this can be difficult, especially when you're dealing with so many students, but try to allow yourself to be taught by your students. Again, letting go of that control. They have so many ideas and have so much to say, so they deserve to be listened to because what they have to offer is very important in their learning process. And as mentioned, making and tinkering promotes learning by doing, which is a valid approach to mastery. So even if you're not the one actually doing, you can learn an awful lot by observing the one who is doing. So learning from your students. Try watching the process that your students are going through and take note of their challenges, successes, and progress being made in the moment. If they can't figure it out and you do not have the answer, there's nothing wrong with saying, let's try and figure it out together. This also promotes collaboration.
So another way to learn alongside your students is to ask them what they have learned. It's just as important for us to ask students questions as it is for them to ask us questions. Not only does this help to answer your own questions, but it gives students a chance to explain their thought process, and also gives them the chance to share their opinions, which they don't often get during the school day. It makes them feel validated in their approach and naturally excited to show you what they come up with.
And if you missed the first part of the webinar, we talked a little bit about Dr. Seymour Papert. He's an innovative educator, MIT mathematician, and computer scientist. And he says that the best lesson we can give our students is to let them see us struggle to learn. And this is very true. And what kid doesn't want to be able to teach their teacher a thing or two? So allowing their students to feel like they're the experts will help build their self-confidence and allow them to try and fail without worrying about being wrong. And today there's so much stress on meeting standards and getting good grades. So this is a shared collaboration between students and educators. So together we can come up with some work to understand one another. And so much is learned through that engagement with our students.
The final strategy we will discuss is number 4, to allow students to go in any direction they like, no matter how unrealistic it may seem. Try not to stifle their creativity by telling them that the idea is not feasible. Instead, it's better to let them try and see for themselves whether or not they need to rethink their idea or make changes to their designs. One way to keep things open-ended, to allow them to go in any direction they choose, is to offer very few parameters. Try challenging students with a time constraint. Here's an example. Using whatever materials you choose, build a structure that can support the weight of your cell phone. Do this in 5 minutes or less. You could also try material constraints. For example, build a structure that can bear the weight of your cell phone using only index cards. So they have as much time as they need, but they can only use the index cards. And you can make a challenge even more difficult by combining a time constraint with a material constraint. So that might sound like, in 5 minutes or less, you need to build a structure that can support the weight of your cell phone using only index cards.
So for more advanced students, you can make things even more challenging by offering no parameters at all. This is a great way to increase problem-solving abilities and to get students thinking about solving real-world issues, such as invent something to keep a loved one safe, or design and build a multiplayer game. or invent something that will help conserve water. Design a modern version of something that was invented during the Industrial Revolution. And Rachel and I have been working on something called the OC STEM Challenges, and she's going to explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so these challenges do just what we've been talking about. They allow students to go in any direction and while at the same time offering a few parameters. So these monthly STEM challenges can be used in any program. Each challenge addresses the engineering design process in collaboration with using 21st century skills, making, and tinkering. Each challenge includes supporting activities, which can be scaffolded across different grade levels, and they're all centered around a global theme, so students can really relate the activities to real-world situations. Anyone can access these challenges by registering on the OC STEM RISC website, and I'll just take a moment to show you where to go and how to do that. So this is the OC STEM RISC website here, which is afterschool.ocstem.org. And you'll be able to log on using your email address. And once you're logged on, the page looks like this. You can go to the tools and select challenges. And this is where all of the challenges are going to be housed. There will be a new challenge at the beginning of each month. The first of the challenges was just began at the beginning of November. So to show you an example of the challenges we offer, I'll click on November's challenge, which is to build a self-propelling vessel. And this is centered around conservation and alternative energy. So if you click there, you can see a more in-depth description of what the challenge actually includes. It offers you a downloadable overview, so you can print it off, share it with your coworkers, share it with other people that might be interested. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that we have all the scaffolding activities that can go along with the challenges. So you'll notice that we separated these into 3 sections, a beginner level, an intermediate level, and an advanced level. And you just will have to choose the one that's most developmentally appropriate for your students. I mean, some of these, like the Puffmobile, for example, we thought it was best for pre-K through 2nd grade, but it might also be usable in the 3rd or 4th grade level. It just really depends on where your students are at. So each activity comes with a lesson plan as well as a student handout. And again, these are all just downloadable by clicking on them, and you can print them out and use them however you like. So that is the monthly OC STEM challenges. Like I said, they've just it just started at the beginning of November, and we're really excited about it. We hope that you're able to use this as a great resource. And another cool part about these STEM challenges is that we offer sort of like a competition and an opportunity to share using an online platform. Yeah, thank you. So if you decide that you want to take on the challenge and actually register for the challenge, you just click here, register as a team, and it will ask you for all this information here, the program or the site name, the district, the organization, your city, your email, your phone number if you like, and then a team name. So the platform that we'll be using for these challenges is EduBlog, and we thought that it's a really important thing to include to have students practice sharing what they learned, how they came up with their conclusion, and also just to be using an online platform, to express an idea or an opinion. So again, you can find these challenges on the OC STEM RISC website by clicking Tools and selecting Challenges.
So let's just quickly recap. And let's quickly recap and go over the 4 key strategies. So 1, experience first, teach second. Again, we want to make sure that we are allowing ourselves and our students to explore with hands-on experiences to drive their motivation and interest. 2, teach persistence over precision. This is about not being right or wrong, but about diligence and valuing the importance of mistakes and what we can learn from them to make us better at anything we set our minds to. 3, learn alongside students. So as an educator, be willing to be a student and learn from the interests, mistakes, and overall interaction with your students. And last, allow students to go in any direction. So no one really likes being told what to do, especially kids. So when you allow them to be the leaders of their own journey and their own learning process, they are more willing to embrace the experiences that they go through, which consequently builds on strengthening their skills.
So we do have a few more resources that we'd like to offer you to help guide you through the facilitation process. The first one is Make Zine, which is created by Maker Media. It's a bi-monthly magazine, and it contains a lot of do-it-yourself projects. You can also access, or you can get the magazine itself, or as you can see, they have a website, makezine.com. The second resource I'd like to offer is The Art of Tinkering, which is a great book that introduces readers to the world of tinkering, how to facilitate, and really helps to define the relationship between art, science, and all the other subjects of study. And then the last resource is the Exploratorium website. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Exploratorium is a hands-on science and art museum in San Francisco. They also have recently incorporated what they call the Tinkering Studio, which again offers all sorts of resources and activities about tinkering specifically. So also on this website you can find professional development resources to share with your colleagues.
So now we're going to reserve some time for questions. So please feel free to send them over if you need clarification or if you have any comments or suggestions for us. Please feel free.
So we definitely are hoping that you were able to get some valuable takeaways from this webinar in terms of facilitation, and I would definitely urge you to check out the part 1 of this webinar series, which is also on just the fundamentals of making and tinkering, you know, like setting up an environment and choosing materials,
Yeah, and we understand that this is a fairly new idea, although the practices have already been done through STEM activities and STEM curriculum. The concepts of making and tinkering themselves are fairly new, so we understand that, you know, this information could be overwhelming a little bit, so we understand that. But that's why we're here. We're here to help you in that facilitation process and that learning process of what making and tinkering are and how you can go about implementing these kinds of activities in your programs and at your sites. So again, we just want to offer our support and our time. So thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your very busy schedules. We believe that this is a very important topic to have discussed, and we have to continue with these conversations about making and tinkering to help support one another. And we hope that as a community we can collaborate to strengthen this movement. And here we have our contact information. So again, please feel free to contact us whenever you like with questions or suggestions, or even if you just want to have a conversation about, what this is all about. And yeah.
So that's all we have for you guys for today. Again, both of these webinars, Part 1 and Part 2, will be located on the OC STEM website. So I encourage you to share them with your coworkers if this is something that you're interested in implementing. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Friday.
Thank you.